Hey, did you know the very pill you're popping daily to control your blood sugar might be silently sabotaging your kidneys? Yeah, that little tablet you trust to keep diabetes in check could be a double-edged sword, and millions are in the dark about it. Stick with me. I've seen too many folks blindsided by this, and I'm here to lay out the raw truth, the risks, and the game changers you've probably never heard of. Let's dig deeper with a question that's gnawing at me. If this medication is a lifeline for so many, why are whispers of kidney damage getting louder? I've pored over stacks of research and sat with patients who felt the sting of this paradox firsthand. Picture a guy in his 50s. Let's call it a story I've lived through too many times. Decades of battling diabetes, faithfully taking his meds, only to find his kidney function tanking. He's not alone. Over 60% of folks with diabetes face kidney complications, and the meds meant to save them might be part of the problem. I'm not just throwing shade here. I want to unpack how this happens, why it's not a simple fix, and what's lurking as a safer bet. We're talking about a hidden battle in your body, where the cure can sometimes cut deeper than the disease. So, are you ready to see what's really at stake? Now, let's break this down to the nuts and bolts of diabetes and kidney health, because understanding the battlefield is half the fight. Diabetes, at its core, is a wrecking ball for your kidneys. Think of them as filters in a pool that's constantly getting dirty. High blood sugar over years gums up these filters, leading to a condition we call diabetic nephropathy. I've seen patients come in with telltale signs, tiny bits of protein like albumin leaking into their urine, blood pressure spiking through the roof. Studies back this up. Over 60% of type 2 diabetes patients develop some form of kidney damage over time. Now, enter the medication widely prescribed for blood sugar control. It's a heavyweight in the diabetes ring, proven by countless studies to stabilize glucose levels effectively. But here's the kicker. While it's busy doing that, it can also mess with your system in ways that stress those already struggling kidneys. How? It's tied to something called lactate, a byproduct that builds up in your blood. If your kidneys and liver can't clear it fast enough, it's like a bathtub overflowing. Water spills everywhere, damaging the tub itself and everything around. Research shows that in patients with pre-existing kidney issues, this lactate buildup can exacerbate damage, turning a helper into a hazard. I've had patients describe feeling fine one day, then suddenly fatigued, not knowing their kidneys were drowning under this unseen load. And don't get me started on oxidative stress, another beast diabetes unleashes. It's an imbalance where harmful molecules, called free radicals, outnumber your body's defenders, antioxidants, tearing at your cells, proteins, even your DNA. Studies link this stress directly to worsening kidney function, with data showing elevated markers of oxidative damage in diabetic patients. I've watched folks struggle with this invisible war, their labs screaming trouble while they still feel okay. Beyond the meds, lifestyle plays a role too. Uncontrolled blood sugar above 180 milligrams per deciliter is like pouring fuel on the fire. Then there's the medical system's blind spots. Some doctors don't routinely check early kidney damage markers like urine albumin. I've had to nudge colleagues to run these tests for patients who'd otherwise slip through the cracks. And let's talk alternatives. There are other meds out there, often pushed by big pharma, that come with their own laundry list of side effects, like infections or dehydration. I've seen patients switch to these only to trade one problem for another. The point is, managing diabetes isn't just about a pill. It's about understanding how every piece, from meds to diet, fits into protecting those vital filters in your body. So, knowing all this, how do we weigh the benefits of a drug against the silent risks it might carry? Here's where it gets even stickier. Could the very system designed to help us be steering us wrong? Let me throw something at you that's kept me up at night. Why is it that when patients stop this common diabetes med due to kidney concerns, so many doctors don't have a clear next step? I've sat across from folks who've been told we'll discontinue this, only to be left hanging with no plan B. It's not just negligence, it's systemic. The pharmaceutical push often leans toward pricier, patented drugs over cheaper, natural options that aren't as profitable to promote. Think about this. There are plant-based compounds out there, used for centuries in some cultures, that show real promise in managing blood sugar with fewer side effects. Yet, ask your average doc about them, and you'll likely get a blank stare. I've seen the frustration in patients' eyes when they realize their options are limited by what's on the prescription pad, not what science or history supports. Take a case I came across. A woman in her late 40s, tired of the side effects from her meds, started digging into natural remedies on her own. She stumbled upon a compound from a common plant known to improve insulin sensitivity. After consulting with a holistic practitioner, she integrated it into her routine and saw her blood sugar stabilize without the fatigue or worry of kidney stress. Studies I've reviewed back her experience. Research shows these natural options can lower glucose levels comparably to some meds, with less risk of lactate buildup. But here's the rub. Without mainstream backing, access to pure, effective versions of these alternatives is a gamble. Big retailers often stock diluted products, sometimes as low as 20% potency, rendering them near useless. I've warned patients about this trap. Cheap doesn't mean effective. This clash between profit-driven medicine and under-the-radar solutions is a real conflict, and it's one that leaves too many patients caught in the crossfire. So, are we ready to confront what's been hidden in plain sight? Let's hit the peak of this roller coaster. The hard, undeniable truth about these risks and what they mean for you. The evidence is stacking up. Certain diabetes medications, especially for those with already compromised kidneys, can worsen damage through mechanisms like lactate accumulation. A study I've dug into, published in a major medical journal, found that in patients with reduced kidney function, the risk of lactic acidosis, a dangerous condition tied to lactate buildup, jumps significantly when on this med. We're talking about real numbers here. In some cohorts, the incidence of kidney-related adverse events doubled compared to those not on the drug. I've seen this play out in the clinic. A patient early 60s, came in with what he thought was just fatigue. Labs showed his kidney function had plummeted and lactate levels were off the charts. We had to act fast, pulling the med and stabilizing him. But the damage was already done. His story isn't rare. It's a pattern echoed in research, showing that pre-existing kidney stress amplifies the drug's downsides. Now, let's talk oxidative stress again, because it's a silent killer here. Diabetes ramps up free radical production, and studies indicate that in diabetic nephropathy, markers of oxidative damage can be 50% higher than in healthy individuals. This med doesn't directly cause it, but it doesn't help either. Some research suggests it can indirectly contribute by taxing the body's clearance systems. I've watched patients grapple with this, their kidneys taking hit after hit while they're just trying to manage their glucose. And the system? It's failing them. When meds are stopped, there's often no roadmap. I've had to step in for patients, guiding them through alternatives because their primary docs didn't know where to turn. Let's get into those alternatives. Natural compounds, like those derived from plants, have shown in clinical trials to not only lower blood sugar, but also support kidney and liver function. One study I've referenced often found a specific plant compound reduced blood glucose by up to 20% in test subjects with no reported kidney stress. Compare that to the risks of lactic acidosis or the side effects of other synthetic drugs, urinary infections, dehydration, even fractures from long-term use. I've advised patients on integrating these natural options, but it's a minefield without guidance. Then there's the role of supportive nutrients. Think powerful antioxidants that cut oxidative stress, or specific vitamins that combat anemia and nerve damage common in kidney patients. Research is clear. One antioxidant compound can reduce kidney stress markers by up to 30% when taken consistently. I've seen it work. Patients who pair this with a controlled diet see their labs stabilize, buying their kidneys precious time. But here's the brutal reality. Timing and purity matter. Take these nutrients wrong, or get a low-grade version, and you're wasting your money. And for those with other conditions like thyroid issues, interactions are a real concern. I've had to adjust plans for patients whose hormone levels shifted unexpectedly. The data doesn't lie, and neither do the stories. So when the stakes are this high, why aren't more people talking about the full spectrum of options, risks, alternatives, and all? All right, let's lighten the load for a second with something that might just make you smile. Because amidst all this heavy stuff, there's a bit of hope that's almost comical in its simplicity. Imagine this. Your kidneys, those overworked filters, getting a helping hand from something as old school as a plant root or a sprinkle of spice. I've had patients laugh in disbelief when I've suggested adding a certain natural compound to their routine, something their grandma might have sworn by for a totally different reason. One guy, after months of worrying over his labs, cracked up when I told him about pairing a specific antioxidant with his morning coffee, taken 30 minutes before eating, for max punch. "Doc, you're telling me my brew could save my kidneys?" He chuckled. But here's the kicker. Studies show this compound, a powerhouse against oxidative stress, can indeed cut down the damage diabetes does. sometimes by margins that rival fancy meds. I've seen folks light up when their energy returns, their numbers improve, all from something they can toss into their daily grind. And don't get me started on another nutrient combo. Think of it as a 1-2 punch for blood sugar and kidney support. I've walked patients through taking it 15 minutes before meals, blending the best of absorption science with everyday habit. One lady described it as her secret weapon, grinning as she shared how her latest checkup showed her kidneys holding steady for the first time in years. There's even a vitamin, often overlooked, that's crucial for kidney patients because their bodies can't activate it naturally anymore. Research pegs deficiency rates as high as 70% in advanced cases. I've guided folks on this, watching their fatigue lift like a fog, and it's honestly a joy to see. The surprise isn't just in how these small tweaks work. It's in how accessible they can be if you know where to look. I've laughed with patients over dodging the junk at big stores, cheap knockoffs with barely any active ingredient, and finding the real deal that actually moves the needle. It's like finding a hidden gem in a thrift shop. You've gotta know what shines. These little victories, these quirky wins, remind me why I fight this fight. Because sometimes the simplest things, backed by solid science, can turn the tide in a battle you thought was lost. So let's hold on to that chuckle, that spark of no way this works, because it just might be the nudge your body's been begging for. So here we are, at the end of this deep dive, and I'll keep it tight. Your kidneys are on the line with diabetes, and the meds you trust might be a risky bet. The science is clear. While they can control blood sugar, they can also stress your system with stuff like lactate buildup, especially if your kidneys are already struggling. Over 60% of you with diabetes could face this damage, and oxidative stress only piles on the hurt. But there's hope. Natural compounds from plants, powerful antioxidants, and key nutrients can manage glucose and protect those filters without the same dangers. I've seen it work, from patients stabilizing their labs to dodging the side effects of synthetic drugs. Your action plan? Keep blood sugar under 180 milligrams per deciliter. Load up on plant-based foods. Move your body with regular cardio. And don't skip those doctor visits. Catch issues early with tests like urine albumin. If you want to keep hearing stories like these, digging into truths that matter, hit that like, subscribe, and support my work. It's the fuel that keeps me going. And hey, drop a comment below. What's one thing you've tried or heard about for kidney health that surprised you? Let's swap notes and keep this conversation alive.